Hey, welcome to Horns Up. Oh my god, it feels like ages since we've done this.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like ages since I saw your face, Animesh.
Yeah, it has, right? We've deliberately taken Horns Up a bit on the back burner, so to say, kind of doing like maybe one or two episodes in a month rather than each and every week. We also haven't seen each other in quite a long time, although we do keep chatting over WhatsApp, etc. Right?
Yeah, which is weird, right? Because even though you're in touch, you're not really in touch. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know. Audience members, don't worry. There's no rift, nothing of that
There's no
sort.
creative
No
differences.
creative differences. We both like just focusing on some other things in life. How's it been
Holy
for you,
shit. This
man?
this this is a reel. It's like, guys, there is no creative differences. But good, man. I mean, like lots of work. Uh
And what about on the music front? How have the 6 months of 2023 been for you?
Dude, there's just so much stuff.
How much of it has really stuck with you? Because yes, I know there's so much stuff in 2023, but I felt like I was forcing myself to list things down because honestly, I didn't.
I think what for me gets screwed up in a way is that and I'll give a very specific example, right? Like before the year was done, I already had Jan 2023 releases, right?
Mhm.
So by the time the albums came out in Jan, to me now it seems like it's seven,
Last
eight
year.
months old, right? So it seems like
Yeah.
last year. So I had to actually check, like, hey, which month did everything come out?
Uh-huh.
And like even the stuff that came out in June, I had much earlier. So I had to be like, okay, wait, I have to like draw the line here. And then you had a lot of stuff that came out like in the past week, which again, so I think
Yeah.
like that gets completely like messed up. uh
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, with certain releases that I don't get promos and stuff like that, just enjoy the normal process of like waking up on a weekend and checking out the
Discovering them and
album.
then checking
Yeah,
them out. Yeah.
yeah. So
I've
like,
been off promos and stuff for quite a long time. So this year has been one in which I've deliberately chosen, uh, like looking through the new releases each and every week or each and every month, and then choosing whatever I feel like listening to. And through that, yeah, it's not been a very strong year of excellent music. Although my top five at the moment for what we call our half year picks of 2023 or half year picks of this year certainly are fabulous pieces of music.
that's one of those things I should quickly add, right? Is that there's so much music coming out, but
Yeah.
also at the same time, like, because you have so much choice and you kind of pick, right? And it's a very interesting point that you made, that how much of it really sticks with you. And
Yeah.
I think that reflects on my picks, because what I tend to do is also go back. I mean, like, this is a streaming thing, but I'll go back and listen to a certain single from an album that I really enjoy, or like certain things that there. So in that way, it kind of sticks. Uh, and it also, the way the albums are being released. I mean, like, let's be
Hmm.
honest.
Yeah.
And I
Maybe.
can
Yeah.
I can call this out because I think both of us mutually felt it. But like with a band like Bellwitch, right? The fact that it sticks with you is going to be really tough, just because of the nature of the way the album is and all of that, right? So
Yeah. But
it all.
this year's Belvich release, disappointing.
I know, right? We kind of had
we
a
yeah
chat
we,
about this.
yeah we did
So
discuss that. Has metal been the foremost music that you find yourself listening to this year, the foremost
no.
genre?
So
I kind
if
of feel that way too.
I mean, like, if I didn't have to do the podcast,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. And like that is like one of those reasons, right? It's very strange that I'm saying this, but like a lot of it feels like, hey, because I have to keep up with the podcast and all of that,
Mm.
I'm listening to it. And if I mean, I'm also like looking at it like, if I didn't get all these emails every day,
Yeah.
would I really be like reaching out? Uh, I mean, like, I have to be honest, another great barometer is that the number of CDs I've bought of current releases this year is very rare.
Mm.
Like, I think like
Likewise.
five. What I did buy was like last year's or 2 years ago
Uh,
releases. So it's
yeah.
very strange.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this year I've kind of ventured away from metal to listening to a lot of, not a lot of, but I've started my Afrobeats journey. I've started a little bit of, not a little bit of, I've become a fan of Diljit Dosanjh.
Shout out to Diljit
Shout out to
and shout
Diljit.
out to Rahul
Rahul, yeah,
playing.
of
I mean,
course.
dude, I met him, by the way.
Oh, you
It was so
did?
cool. Yeah, it
It
was so
was
cool to meet
fantastic.
him.
Yeah,
So cool to meet him
full
at a
power to
metal
him.
gig. Yeah.
You went to the Vader gig, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
yeah, yeah, of
Hmm.
course.
Yeah, I wish I was there for that. That would have been fun. Branching away a bit from metal, but I do find myself coming back to metal
So
to
wait,
feel like myself.
can I ask you the question?
What?
How do you figure out all these Punjabi lyrics, man? Because like for
No,
me,
because
I
if
need
the
subtitles.
Hindi, yeah, I mean, no,
Ah,
for
okay.
me, it's just a having a bit of Delhi in my background helps, and B, it's pretty much similar to Hindi, man,
Ah,
and
okay.
his lyrics are fucking fine. I mean,
Ha,
his songs are really good.
fair. I mean, like, okay,
Yeah,
Diljit is still like, but I'm like with some of these other guys, like,
no, with some of the other guys, I don't bother.
yeah,
I
it's
just
like
don't
too
bother.
hardcore for me.
Yeah,
I mean, I know I talked about this guy last year, right? Raman Negi. Like, he
yeah.
writes some of the stuff in Hindi. I'm like, bro, I need subtitles with this shit, man. Like, it's too, like, what are these words? No one uses them in normal language.
Okay. Alrighty, cool. So yes, don't worry, listeners. Some of you who are still there, I don't know how
Listen,
many people
sorry,
still
sorry,
listen to this in any
sorry.
manner.
That I met someone, so I am no pressure, but I'm just saying
Okay.
this to you. Someone actually came up to me at a gig, and you know who you are when you listen to this podcast. He was like, "Bro, बहुत time हो गया तुम लोग podcast episode नहीं release किया," and I didn't know what to say because I'm like, "Oh, wow, people are listening, or people are also noticing that it's been a while." So I'm like, "Damn."
Damn.
So,
Oh my
so the next
God.
time I saw him at the gig, I'm like, "Ah, you heard that last episode?" Or what?
Did he or she say yes?
Yeah. He did. He did.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah, listeners,
pressure.
don't worry. We aren't like fully jaded with metal yet either. We'll continue to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that brings us to the half year picks of 2023. We're doing this in three lists as such. The first, a non metal list, because clearly we have non metal to talk about. Although, yes, there hasn't been a lot of new non metal music that I've been listening to. Like, weirdly enough, I think it's a lot of catching up with the originals of particular scenes or particular genres that have already set the bar as such. I haven't yet come around to new music in that field. But yeah, let's do that then. Non metal music. What
Okay.
have you got for us, Peter?
Do you want me to go all at one stretch?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you
Okay.
do all at one stretch and then I'll do mine? Do you have like how many pieces of music do you
Four.
have?
I have
Four. Not
four.
bad. I just have three.
Okay,
Cool.
fair. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's do this. So I ranked them just in order of what I've been listening to and how frequently I've been listening to it.
Fabulous. I'm so proud of you.
Yes. So number 4 should not come to anyone's surprise because I'm a dad to a 6-year-old, is the soundtrack to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I mean,
Oh,
like after I took my son for that movie, we've been listening to the previous soundtrack had that
had Sunflower, which is a really
yeah.
good song.
So my son sings Sunflower now
Yeah, that's so
and he
cute.
plays
That's so
back. So
awesome.
it's really cute, but like even just like the number of times, I mean, like I might actually take him for the movie again, but like I was
Dude,
just
if
blown
you
away.
can, I ended up watching the movie last week, but I ended up watching it in 4DX. Trust me, like if you find a good theater that does 4DX well, take him for that experience because that is something he'll never forget. And you, of course, also will never forget it.
Yeah.
It's
So
it's a different experience altogether. It's very distracting. Yeah.
no. So basically, I really enjoyed that, and I think like just the way that
It's a fabulous movie.
yeah, and I think like to keep up with all the twists and turns, like I think they've done a great job with the
Yeah.
soundtrack. Number 3 is actually an Indian artist, and it's a debut release. It's someone
Okay.
called Zoran Miranda. His
Okay.
EP called Time. So it's like think your 80s synthwave, synth pop kind of thing. Like at some point I even like was like, fuck, this sounds exactly like 80s ka Michael Jackson.
Is it
But
English or Hindi or some other
English,
language?
English.
English.
Yeah, but the
Okay,
thing
all
is,
right.
Zoran is someone who kind of has played with
Let's
Nikhil
check that out.
D'Souza all the way till Bombay Brass, and basically he just is the guy you'll see on guitar on a lot of like Bollywood gigs, tracks, and stuff like that. Like I just
Hmm.
discovered while I was prepping for this, that he's also co-written a track with Ankur Tiwari for the new Archie's movie that's coming out. But like,
Okay.
despite him doing all of this during the
Hmm.
lockdown, he found time to kind of work on his own music, and that's time which is like this whole nostalgia trip. And I think like because we're around the similar age, we
Hmm.
enjoyed similar references, music, so that's why I could kind of get what he was doing. So that's been a cool release I've been checking out.
Okay,
Uh,
that's cool.
a
Added.
band that has had so many releases coming out. I'm pretty sure like by the time this releases, or I don't know, by the time people hear it, they'll have like 3 new albums. Is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Ooh, you're bringing it
Uh,
up in your non-metal picks.
I mean, I don't know, like Petro Draganic Apocalypse. Did you consider that metal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. It's on my top five at a pretty high number actually.
Ha, okay. But for me, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess my stuff is a little more extreme. But fuck, like, I love these guys. I mean, like, I would love to see these guys live. And unfortunately, it won't happen in India.
They're 13 years old as a band, and this is something I just discovered today because I was only googling them today because I had to do some homework and actually think about what to say about them. Right? I didn't know they had like 20 albums released.
The dude, you know what I love about them? And trust me, while you were Googling them about that, I was Googling to say, because they have this entire section on their website called Bootlegger, right? Where
Okay.
you can actually download their albums and like
Yeah.
print it and all of that. I'm like, should I not, like, will it be fun? Will it not be fun? Because like people have done like some weird shit. They've done like
Yeah. And they encourage
cassettes
it.
and
It's
an
it's
eight
it's
track and
awesome.
all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, right? So like, yeah, definitely a cool band. If you haven't heard even one of their releases, just like go down the rabbit hole,
Yeah,
and
go
I'll
down
see
the
you in
rabbit
like,
hole, but don't like I think disclaimer needs to be put up front. They're not a band that stick to a particular genre on each
hmm.
album. Cool.
But number one for me, and I think like I spun the hell out of this album, is the latest Foo Fighters album. But here we are. I mean, like
Okay.
at one point, I spent like an entire week only listening to this album, and
Nice. Okay, cool.
fuck, it hits hard. I mean, like anyone who's followed Foo Fighters knows how
Uh-huh.
personal this album is,
Yeah.
and like you can tell, like there's so many layers. Like you go, like I'm someone who goes through the lyrics, right? So when you like read through the lyrics, you're like, fuck, it hits, and like there's a great video they put out when they released
Mm-hmm.
the album. I think in New York or somewhere, they did like a public listening of the album. They got fans to come and listen to it. Not one person left without being like, what the fuck? Like, just like completely. It's like a complete experience in there. And yeah, I mean, like, there was a lot of like, what will they do? What's the future of the band and stuff like that. But like, they come back with an album like this, and now they're touring and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one.
Okay.
So over to you.
Alrighty. I've just got three. I'll keep them nice and short. I've ranked them to descending order. No, sorry, ascending order. Number three, Royal Thunder. They
Oh,
released a fabulous album, Rebuilding the Mountain. I think Royal Thunder, their very first album, CVI or something, I forget the name of it, but it had fabulous music, and I'm glad that I managed to find this band again this year because frankly I haven't been keeping in touch with them. But then this album, Rebuilding the Mountain, is just it's a perfect follow-up to what my impressions of Royal Thunder were and what they mean to me, etc. And fabulous listen, go and check them out. The second one, I feel weird for putting this in a non-metal list, but it is not a metal album to me. Dave Lombardo's solo album, Rites of Percussion.
Oh, I haven't heard that. How is it?
It's it's beautiful because it takes like because we've only heard Dave Lombardo, or most of us have only heard Dave Lombardo because of his work on Slayer.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect Dave Lombardo to be this diverse and be this big explorer of percussive
Hmm.
sounds as such. But then on this album, check it out because it's a sonic journey of sorts. It's a lot of experimentation.
Done.
I wouldn't tell that it's Dave Lombardo by listening to it. Like only because I know it's Dave Lombardo that I'm like, holy shit, this guy's so much cooler than the kind of music we associate him with, right?
Yeah.
And the first one is, well, frankly, it's married to one of my other interests, which is wrestling. Mikey Ruckus, who's the music director or the guy who essentially makes the entrance themes for a wrestling company called AEW or All Elite Wrestling, he did this lovely half an hour mashup,
Hmm.
which and released it as a EP, which is trance or techno. I like it's it's very danceable, high energy, high octane remixing of a variety of the wrestlers' themes and all just mashed together into one effortless 30-minute long song called Hater Hits Hard. I don't know
Okay.
what genre this is, but that's only because I don't listen to a lot of electronic music. If this shit got played like at a public gig or something of that sort, I wouldn't be one to stand in the crowd. I would be one to move away as quickly as possible. But this album, maybe because I actually know the songs in it, etc., fabulous, easy listen, gets you pumped up. Use it on your commute, use it during workouts, etc., etc. Especially if you like gymming, etc. I think it's become one of those 30-minute workout things that you can time your workout with, and that's how a lot of people are using it. So it's called Hater Hits Hard. It's by AEW or Mikey Ruckus.
Thank you for that because I'm going to introduce this to my gym guys. Because trust me, man, and I think you know this because at one point I had messaged you or in a group like, fuck, recommend some music because my gym guys for some reason, or at least at a certain time, they're all obsessed with Divine. So I end up
Ooh,
like doing that. They're a
how
bhai.
is
Yeah,
Divine?
I don't know. Don't ask me, man. and
Okay,
it goes in that entire gully gang, gully rap. So all I end up doing is like Meri
bye.
Bagi and yeah, like fuck. So that's when like the death metal gets like really turned up on my
Awesome.
headphones.
Yeah, cool. So that's the non-metal that we've been subjecting our ears to. Let's get into honorable mentions. Chal, I'll do my five first, and then you do yours.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
Mine is
All
in
right.
alphabetic.
Oh, yours is
Yeah,
in alphabetical. Mine
yeah.
is in whatever.
Ah,
Well, mine is in order of appearance, I guess.
okay, cool.
Yeah. Enslaved Heimdall.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed it. Could have been higher up on the list, but then I didn't end up listening to it a lot. Like the amount of times I thought I would end up listening to it, but I really enjoyed it while listening to it. This one we recorded on Horns Up as an interview to Creeping Death, Boundless Domain. Thank you for bringing that album to my notice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. My next pick, you won't like, or maybe you will. I don't know. We are very divided upon one song from this EP, Ghosts Pantomime EP, which is a collection of covers.
You liked it. I
I
mean,
the overall I liked it. I think this was a good collection of covers. I don't have any. I enjoyed the Phantom of the Opera cover
okay.
too.
So I will reserve my comments for after when my list comes up
When
because
your
I have
list, you have them. Do you have them on your list
no,
too?
no, no, no.
No. Okay.
But there's a reason you'll realize in a
Okay.
couple.
Fine. ठीक है. The next one, Liturgies 93696. Liturgy
Oh,
is somebody that I've been following for ever since that very first album came out and the Declaration, etc. Dude, like honestly, this person, HHH Hunter, she does a fabulous job of innovation. I see the point that the metal purists make when they say this is not metal music,
hmm.
because a lot of it is not metal in terms of feel, but
Hmm.
it is metal. That's a useless debate for me. It's very interesting. Trust me, like the hyperblast device, as well as some of the other songwriting innovations, quirks, style, whatever. As an artist, to be able to use those things to craft really good songs is a skill. And this particular album, 93696, takes those skills and just it opens up so much of the constraining factor of what metal can be.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Okay.
honorable mention to the Demon Stealer for the Propaganda Machine. I've actually ended up hearing it more often than I thought I would, which
Yeah.
is a good thing. And yeah, I'm glad that Sahil's finally getting some of the due that he's deserved.
Is that the end?
Yeah, that's the end.
Okay, so I think I can
5
start
honorable
from there, right?
mentions done.
It's
Yeah.
like, Sahil, I know you're going to listen to this. You made it to the Horns Up honorable list, and you made it to Metal Hammer. Khatam. Like, I think
All
that's it.
achievements done.
All achievements done.
Forever immortalized.
But yeah, man. I mean, I'll start off with that. Like, shout out to Sahil. And I think like Sahil's been doing this for a while. He put out like the last two. I've been
Yeah.
following it and things like that. But on this, there's like that. How do I say? I can't quite put my finger at it.
You know
Like,
what I think this is? So we do have a chat with Sahil about this particular album too. I forget the the episode number, but it was one of our recent releases. You know, we talked to him about him not trying as such, like, and that was his process through the entire album. Like he didn't, like, it was pretty effortless for him, and I think that shows. I think
Yeah.
that's the X, or that's the subjective thing that's different on this release. And I think that's why it's resonating with so many people, because there's acceptance at one level and then there is effortlessness, and both of them finally are coming together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Yes.
think that's a great way to describe that album.
So, Sahil, since you have a new metal podcast out and you're looking for questions, we'll throw this one up to you on that.
Done.
And you tell us.
I already messaged him. I'm like, collab time. No, it's especially since he's doing video and he's editing it, right? So I'm fine with that.
Sure.
Okay. But on to my honorary list, right? And since I said I found it kind of tough, and let's be honest, like I have to tell you why it was tough. It's because I just went through all the stuff we put out on Horns Up, all the bands we talked to. Then I said, okay, this is the stuff I really found interesting, put it all together. And I'm like, wow. Because like my hypothesis was that this wasn't that great a year and this wasn't a lot. And then I realized, wait, there is a lot that I did end up listening to. So with that out of the way, first up is Ardent Nova.
Okay.
And this is like a mysterious American blackened heavy metal act. Mysterious, I say, because the person behind it doesn't want to be like in public, doesn't do interviews and stuff like that. But since we enjoyed Night, and if you listen to like stuff like Amon Amarth or Battery, like this is exactly that. Like this is that Night album for me. Like when I heard Night, I was like, holy fuck. And now when I heard Ardent Nova, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like this is now like a sound, so to say, right? So, and again, it's a solo project. So I really enjoyed that one. Bloodstar, First Sighting. I really enjoyed that. I mean, like for me, the highlight was the vocalist, Madeline Michelle, even though like, you know, the band is of the Visigoth guitarist, right? Jameson Palmer. But I really enjoyed this album. And the thing is, this is the debut release, right? So you have no references. You know that, okay, the Visigoth guitarist's new band of sorts or new project. But I really enjoyed this one. And this is one, like, again, because of the clean singing and it's done well. Because, like, for me, that's the barometer, so to say, right? Like, can they pull off? Is that something I enjoy, the clean vocals? Then comes another UK band called Burner. It All Returns to Nothing. This is like, I would just say extreme metal, because it's like death metal, black metal, hardcore, all thrown in a blender and just like really dark and heavy. So I really enjoyed That one. Already spoke about Demon Stealer, the Propaganda Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Insomnium, Anno
I know
1696.
69. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really liked that album. I mean, like,
Yeah.
the thing with
Okay.
Insomnium is, there's an Insomnium sound,
Mm-hmm.
but the way that they continue to kind of like push that and kind of do is something that I enjoy. And I've been listening to them for years now. So I really enjoyed that. This one's going to surprise you, and I think you might enjoy it. So I highly recommend you check it out. It's a project called Memorage,
Okay.
and it's a new metal act. But again,
Nice.
new metal done like, say, in like 2020s production and all of that. Uh, what basically is Gary Brents, who's the project, who has like innumerable projects. I mean, like Swallow Moth and all of them. Uh, he got inspired last year by a very similar Twitter account that I did, which
Mm-hmm.
is Crazy Metals in New Metal.
Okay.
Crazy Moments in New Metal, which is done by
Okay.
this guy called Holiday Kirk.
Okay.
And he just went down, and he went down the Woodstock documentary that came out also. And he just
Mm-hmm.
decided to write a new metal album. And it's fucking insane because, like, the references, like, you know, Terminator 2 and all of that. And it's kind of like, I feel for me, it's like that nostalgia thing. It's like similar to how I was talking about Zoran Miranda's album, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like very similar. Like when I'm listening to this, I know this kind of sound. I grew up kind of listening to this kind of metal. So I really enjoyed this one. It's a self-titled album, by the way, Memorage. And
Okay.
wrapping up this, which is, I'm sure you'll be surprised this didn't make the top five, but that's been the kind of year it is. Periphery 5, Gent is not a genre. And I don't know why
Interesting.
they
Interesting.
leave the name aside.
Uh-huh.
Like these guys have really pushed it on this album. Like there's so much happening, and it's like proper gent stuff. I mean, like at this point you'd think like, and of course gent is the bad word. Everyone's calling it progressive and shit like that. But like these guys are properly genting now on this album. So I'm like, okay, tongue in cheek or stuff. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I really liked what they're doing on this. And this is like for me also weird tangent of sorts, but this is that workout album for me. Like you're listening to this uh and you're just like weight training or whatever. So yeah, that rounds off my list.
Yeah, at least your honorable lists are things that I would definitely expect from you.
Wait till you see the top five.
Okay, cool. So let's get into the top five.
Okay.
How do you want to do this?
One
Number
five
five,
five
four, three,
five. Yeah,
two,
of
one.
course.
Okay, cool. So number
As
five,
always.
3, 2, 1.
Cruelty.
Necropanther Betrayal.
Oh, that
Yeah,
didn't make, man, that's the
that
thing,
didn't
right?
register for you.
No, that didn't make my list. That's the thing.
Necropanther's Betrayal was a slightly early release in the year. We've had them on the podcast. You can check them out. You can check out our chat with them on episode 213, where we got three-fourths of the band to talk to us about the album. The album is called Betrayal. 11 songs that clock in at around 40 minutes. Great mix of melodies, riffs, solos, vocals. Special shout out to the artwork because that mix of purple, white, and black, and the lovely artwork itself, that really gets the album to pop and stand out as such from a lot of the other thumbnails that you're scrolling through while you're trying to decide what you want to listen to. And it does an excellent job because every time I look at it, it reminds me of how good this album is. It's thrash death that's done really well, and they just released a new video for one of their songs on the album called "Betrayal" itself, the title track, which is weirdly enough the last track on the album, I think. But fun video shot in an amusement park. Check them out too. Very good music. Yeah.
I also completely agree with you. And now I'm like, wow, this is something that should have generally made my list. But yeah, for me, actually, number 5 is Cruelty
Uh-huh.
Utopia. And I remember sending you this album and your
Yeah.
response, which was, I think, quicker than like the blast beat on this album, literally. But like for those who haven't heard, Cruelty are like a Japanese act, and they mix like beat down hardcore with like American Scandinavian like doom death metal.
Mm-hmm.
And fuck, dude, like I mean, you've heard bands and you see, and I think there is like a certain sound, so to say, of bands that are putting out this kind of music, but these guys do it completely differently, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I really enjoyed it. This is the uh album I have actually gone back to, and yeah, I mean, like sometimes you just want music to like completely mind fuck you, and I think this does the job.
Yeah. Speaking of music to that mind fucks you, it's a perfect segue, so which is why I'll reveal my number four. Pupil Slicer, Blossom.
Oh fuck, I have it, I just haven't gone down to here.
It's categorized as mathcore. I don't even think it's mathcore as such, right? Because it's not downright crazy. There's a lot of coherence in Pupil Slicer's Blossom. It doesn't feel like spasms, which is what mathcore generally feels like. It doesn't feel like a collection of Vankry. Every instrument is musically brilliant, of course. It's the vocals and keys by Kate Davies that truly sets this one apart from most of the albums I've heard this year, because like all the songs manage to push across emotion really well. And I think that's somewhere the underlying theme that I'm looking for in music these days, which is a little bit of humanity, a little bit of emotion, etc. Pupil Slices Blossom. Check it out. It's crazy music. What about you? What's number four for you?
Oh, this didn't come as a surprise to you. It's Majesty's Vast Reaches Unclaimed.
Okay.
And it's weird that this album made my top five, not the Insomnium one, not the Inflame one. But I
Uh-huh.
feel like these guys, even though it's a new band, well, new act by members of an older bands,
Mhm.
uh, and I'll tell you who they are because it'll register for you immediately as I say the band names. But these guys take that melodic death metal sound of the 90s that In Flames and all were known for and do it
Mhm.
better.
Yeah.
So
I
that
remember
that's
you
what,
talking about them.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, I loved the album so much. This is what I was talking about. Like I ended up buying it on CD, and this is one of those few albums from this year I bought on CD, right? So it's Tana Anderson from the band Obsequier and Carl Skindem and also Matthew Kirkwood from Inoxarium. So I really enjoyed this album. But kind of like, I think now that I'm saying it out loud, I see a trend of like a lot of like nostalgic sounds or stuff that
Mhm.
reminds me of what I really did enjoy few years ago. Like it's those bands that I'm kind of connecting with more, and nice thing to
Nice.
realize while talking about it.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
number
Number
three.
three. No, actually, tell you what,
Okay.
since you've already spoken about the band as such, my number three is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards.
Okay.
Petrodragonic apocalypse or dawn of eternal light and annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of merciless damnation.
Wow.
Okay, so full marks for a brilliant band name and an album name, and of course, excellent music on the latest album. But it's one of the only albums of this year that I chose to listen to purely because of the album artwork. If you're a fan of Godzilla or dinosaurs or dragons or just lizards or other reptiles, you will like I urge you to Google this album name and devour the artwork for yourself. I had no clue about the sheer insanity of the music because this was my first ever King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album. And that's because
Say
I
that
know how
five times.
I know how multi genre this band is, and so I wasn't expecting a metal release, right? But the album itself, the artwork spoke to me, and I'm glad that I checked it out because this was a trip. Like it left me feeling like the elation that you get after you discover something that you truly resonate with after the first listen, and you're like, holy fuck, this is so cool, right? And that's exactly what it left me feeling after the first listen, and that's why I keep repeating this. It's progressive, but it's not boring progressive. It's
Yeah.
fun progressive. It's a
Yeah.
lot of tool worship.
Hmm.
but it's not done in a Tool fan kind of a way, but almost like a sarcastic manner where they're essentially telling everyone that, hey, you thought only Tool could do this, but we can do this and maybe we do it better. Like,
Yeah.
especially the polyrhythms that are going on, some of the riffing. And I love that this is a concept album. Every song just flows into the other, and you end up listening to this gargantuan Godzilla-esque kind of a tale, which you have to listen to from start to finish. Fantastic release. I wish this band would do only metal, but I'm also kind of glad that they don't do only metal, which means I think their live shows will end up being remembered for being a live show in the realm of, say, a King Crimson or a Fish or something of that sort. Grateful Dead, where you're attracting people of certain mentalities who may not be tied to a particular music genre as such, but are fans of the band, which is a great thing. Music as a unifying force and all of that jazz.
I mean, I'm struggling to remember which album it was, but they did like a complete thrash metal album a year or 2 years ago,
Yeah.
which was also really fun. So I think like I get where you're coming from, and I like going back, right? Like I think this is something that I definitely enjoy live.
So King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, album number three for me so far. What about you? What's your number three?
Uh, no surprises to you. Dirge, self-titled. Fucking love
Okay,
that
I've got
album.
Dirge on my list too, but it's a bit higher.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So should we just combine it, or should we wait?
Tell you what, let's wait for it, and that gives you
Okay.
an indication as to
Okay.
where it's
Fair.
up on my list. Okay, cool. So what's your number two?
So my number two is what I alluded to earlier, which was when you were talking about Ghost, because I found my Ghost replacement band, and it's a
You found a
band.
Ghost replacement.
Yeah, it's a band called Sermon, and
Okay.
their album of Golden Verse.
Are they
Like,
literally a Ghost replacement with a name like Sermon?
listen. So the thing is, again, it's one
I
person
haven't heard of these
mysterious,
guys. Yeah.
one person mysterious goes by the name Him,
Okay.
based out of the UK. But get this, he's got James Stewart from Decapitated Ex Vader playing drums on this album. So
Okay.
now imagine clean vocals with blast beats. And to me, if I had to like do the entire thing of Ghost, I
Uh-huh.
would, this is how I would have my ideal Ghost sound or whatever if I was like playing producer in there, right? Because
Okay.
it totally clicks.
Added it. It's called Off
Yeah.
Golden Verse, right?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
so cool because like I mean, in my head, I remember Periphery do this once
Mm-hmm.
where they had blast beats and then they had clean vocals over. And I thought that was interesting. But like the guy can really sing. And I feel like the fact that, again, there's no like, what do you say, theatrics around it, no like, I don't know, camp videos about replacement of vocalists and all of that, like still I enjoy, and you can still like figure that there is some mystery. So uh yeah, I'm glad I managed to come across this album, which again, if you think about it, just one person sitting in the UK and it's put together. So I really enjoyed it. What's your
Okay.
number two?
My number two is Cattle Decapitations, Terracite.
Ooh. I think I still need to spend more time with it for it to register. And I think
Okay.
it's just purely a cattle decapitation thing. Because, I mean, how do you top your previous releases, right?
With an
And I
album
think,
like Terracite, because with Terracite, the band has managed to just open up their boundaries of sorts, and it's showing you many more layers to what Cattle Decapitation can be. You discover a band that has more multiple facets as such, especially because of that final track, Just Another Body, the epic 10-minute long song that ends this slab of brutality of sorts. It's everything you wanted everything you wanted in a Cattle Decapitation album, and then some, which is why I think it's resonating with so many people around the world, right? It's one of the most popular releases of 2023. And I'm firmly on that bandwagon too.
oh, no doubt. I mean, I think like when it comes to extreme metal, and I think like just the fact that there was so much hype around it, right? Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was easily. I mean, I have to put this out there. The fact that we got to interview them and
yeah,
got to speak to John for me was like, how the fuck did that happen, right?
yeah.
Because
That's
just
a huge thing.
yeah, because let's be honest, like the number of interviews that he probably did and like the number of media outlets that were after getting them on board. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's cool.
That's episode
Uh,
217 for those who want to check that out. Chat with Josh Elmore of Cattle Decapitation. Yeah, so that's number
okay.
two for me, which leaves no surprises as to what my number one is. Yes, it is Dirge by Dirge.
I think like if you have any doubt as to why it even made my top five, just go listen to that episode in there, right? And I think first of all, like knowing the guys, knowing the fact
Mm,
that like they worked on this. I mean, they could have. I think they've had this ready for a while, but the fact that they wanted to put it out, and then so there's that certain anticipation around the album, right? And then I think what helped is I've seen them live also, right? And I saw them like
mm-hmm.
perform this album live, which I think is a big element in there. I mean, like the addition of Apurva on both writing as well as on the record as well as live is just like it takes the band to another level. So uh, there's a reason why it's made both our lists.
As you said, we know the musical capabilities of this band, and they've all been surpassed on this album, but that's what you would expect from any great release as such, right? It's also extremely versatile. Like, I've been using this for multiple activities, commutes, background music, meditation, healing, when I just want to zone out, and it works in every scenario. So it's very versatile, but that's also expected from a really good album, right? Where this album really surpasses all the others in my list is once again because of how human it is. Because throughout the four songs, you can tell it's been a very cathartic process because so much of the band's personalities have been left in the songs. Like, it feels like they've shed skin or they've shed blood, sweat, and tears and just put all of that into this. It's not just a showcase of skills or musicianship or something. It feels pure, it feels genuine, it feels authentic. Yeah, check out the chat we had with three fifths of the band on episode 214 of On Sub. And I know we've got a lot of music waiting for us in the latter half of the year, but this album, the self titled, may just be my album of the year.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and I think like that's one of those things, honestly, right? Like what you said. I mean, if you listen, and I'm gonna like call out the track, right? If you listen to the track Hollow, you can
Mm.
actually feel it. And I'm trying to think
That
how
latter half
exactly.
of the album just hits you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
I mean, and the thing is like in 2023, what I'm looking for a metal album is not to kind of throw the kitchen sink at me sometimes, right? It's
Yeah.
like know exactly which is the right kind of thing to connect with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where even when I'm looking at some of the releases, like obviously like stuff like the Cruelty album, this is the other
Yeah.
end of the spectrum when it comes to the Cruelty album. But like the fact that it evokes an emotion in you and kind of like just leaves you, like I'm going back to the story of what I said when I was on the episode, right? Like I still remember traveling while listening to the album, and when I heard
Mm-hmm.
the opening riff of Hollow, I just stopped while walking in like a really crowded place. It just kind of hits you like that and you
Yeah.
feel it. And I think that's the thing which I feel would probably have resonated with a lot of other people also.
I hope so. It is that strong of an album. I also think it's one of the few albums that I've personally connected to, or that I feel personally connected to, and I think it'll
Hmm.
easily end up, or it has actually so far ended up as one of the albums that I will keep revisiting for life. Like, it's become one of those albums that will forever be with you. Lots of love coming to Dirge.
I know.
So
Uh,
while the people of Dirge, while Dirge is listening to this album, I just have one question. We forgot to ask them this in our interview, I realize, but that question is, and you can tell this to us when we are next chatting, etc. Because I might not remember to bring this up. Why does Condemn take so long to kick in? That's the very first song, right? It takes a very long time to kick in.
something that maybe the Demon Stealer can get them on his podcast and ask, and we'll just submit all these questions. Yeah.
Good idea. Good idea. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Dirge is my number one half year pick of 2023. What's yours?
Scar Symmetry, the Singularity to Zenotaph.
Wow. I was not expecting that.
I waited 9 years for this. Okay, like if it didn't,
I didn't
go,
even know.
I mean, like, so Scar Symmetry, I have to admit, right? Like when I was getting into like melodic death metal and all, this was one of those bands that was introduced to me. But like, what's cool about it is they also have like that thrash element to it.
Okay,
but it's all like science fiction, right? So the Singularity Part 2 Zenotaph is part of a trilogy. So imagine they released the first album 9 years ago, and now they made us wait for the second part, and now hopefully the third part of the trilogy comes out soon. But yeah, man, it was so good to listen to. I mean, I think I'm repeating myself at this point, but it's nostalgia, dude. Like, fuck, Scar Symmetry, like, listening to them. And first of all, like, when they announced that the album's coming out, I'm like, wow, like, this has been a long time coming. The thing is, imagine, their vocalist was so good that when he left the band years ago, they had to replace him with 2 vocalists. Because he couldn't do the clean because it's a mix of, it's that, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying it, but like our good friend Ravi Balakrishnan describes it well with good cop, bad cop vocals. It's that thing, and that interplay of like harsh vocals with the clean vocals, with the kind of guitars and stuff like that. Like, yeah, man, it's fucking awesome. I was so happy like this album came out this year, and I'm very, very pumped. Like if the term melodic death metal turns you off, think like power thrash. That's how I would really describe.
Cool. I'm going to check them out. I've added them to.
I mean, like if you like guitar stuff, then I think you should definitely enjoy this.
Okay, cool. There you have it, folks. Some fabulous pieces of music that have been keeping us happy.
Nostalgic in
your case. Yeah.
In my case.
Yeah. Happy to be human in my case, I guess. Yeah. Not just robotic, but that's a good thing. Those were our half-year picks, and we've still got 6 months of the year left with some fabulous music. Everything from Wellertag to Shining to Gridlink to Ken Mode.
I have to send you Gridlink. Good point.
What are you looking forward to? Is there anything that you're really looking forward to? I'm looking forward to Ken Mode Wellertag. There's a new Spirited Drift happening. There's a Cannibal Corpse happening.
Again, no surprises.
There's a new Baroness happening, which isn't a color, unless you think stone is a color.
But yeah, dude, there's so much happening. Like, and that's the thing, right? I feel like maybe the second half is more stacked, and we don't even know, right? Like,
we don't even know.
What all's been announced so far.
Tell us what you thought of our lists. Have any of these albums resonated with you the way they've resonated with us? Why don't you share your lists with us? We are still available on Twitter. Asmoani on Twitter.
Trend Crusher.
Honsup is at HonsupPod on Twitter. And you can check out all the archives, etc. at honsuppod.com. I really don't know if we'll get back into the swing of doing an episode a week for the foreseeable future, but we may not. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. We're just taking it easy.
We're just taking a bit easy. Yeah. Till that time, horns up.
Horns up, guys.